Hey, this is Jason Morris with the Facebook group Real Estate Agents That Really Work, and I'm on the phone here with Sam Patterson. Hey, how are you, Sam?
Hey, Jason. Good morning. I'm doing good. My friend, how are you?
Oh man, I'm doing fantastic. It's where are you from? You're in Florida, right?
Yes, sir. So my marketplace is South Florida, Palm Beach County, Broward County. It's West Palm Beach, Fort Lauderdale area, if you will.
Okay, yeah. So you guys are in a fairly competitive market, aren't you?
It's an extremely competitive market. We absolutely have a lot of activity, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of familiar with the area. I've been down there a few times, and I talk to agents. It seems like all the time from the Fort Lauderdale area and stuff. So we were chatting about one of the videos I made about adding 20 transactions to your production, and you had some questions about some of the stuff I talked about in there.
Yeah, so I got up this morning, Jason, and, checked my phone, of course, first thing we do, for business. And
Yeah.
voila, I get a notice that there's a YouTube. And I was like, well, okay, let me grab a cup of coffee and listen in. And, I just thought it was very powerful, the way you laid it out and, certain things you can do to achieve, 20 extra transactions per year. And I just thought, man, this is really great little tune-up to listen to first thing in the morning. And then you got into the section about two reasons. You have 10 showings on a property. You're representing the seller. Your 10 showings. A lot of good activity, but no offers. Well, there's really at the end of the day, there's only two items, that causing it not to get any offers, and that being one. Condition of the property that could be adjusted via a price modification or adjustment. And the second part just being, a price reduction period to bring offers. So I thought that was great. And I just thought, that your audience, me included, would, get a lot of value out of digging a little deeper into that to help overcome the resistance that a seller may have. Regarding that.
It's kind of funny sometimes. Sometimes sellers are stuck on a price in their head, And what I do lots of times with price reduction, sometimes when I'm listing a property, I'm already planning when I'm going to price reduce it. And the reason being is because, I'm listening to their motivation. I price based on competition. I don't know if you listen to that video where I don't typically price on solds. I look at their house. I do pull up solds and kind of glance down through them, but I look at their house. And if it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage, I look at the community. And if they want to be priced at $150,000, I look around at the community and try to figure out, okay, if somebody's looking in this price range, or somebody wants to be in this community, where's their house in comparison? What's the competition look like? Is there one for $135 in the same community that has hardwood floors and, beautiful tile, and they got dirty carpet and vinyl? You know what I mean? So
sure. No, absolutely.
I price based on competition. What would a buyer in today's market look at? Or what would what choices would they have in that price range?
Well, yeah, because I think at the end of the day, living in the information age, our buyers are shopping online and they're comparing, features, and amenities and whatnot versus, versus all the homes in that particular marketplace. And they're like, well, this one's at 150, this one's at 135. I think I'll go see 135 first, right?
Yeah, and true. That's exactly right. If 135, man, has a beautiful sunroom and beautiful hardwood floors, and yours is at 145, and you got carpet that should have been torn up 5 years ago, and vinyl that's seen better days, and you're missing a cabinet door in the kitchen, man. You're not going to sell before that other one,
For sure.
So you kind of have to put yourself in the shoes of the buyer when you're looking. And after you've been doing real estate for a little while and you kind of get a good handle on your market, man, I can look at, certain houses in certain areas, hey, I know that this is going to be a primary residence, more than likely going to be a first-time home buyer. More than likely they're going to get a FHA loan, or we have USDA loans here. I don't know if you guys have those there. USDA is 100% as a rural development loan. And but I mean, you can look at the property type and say, man, this is probably going to be FHA or USDA. And I got certain areas on the outskirts of my market that, man, I can tell the people at the listing appointment, I have never seen a house sell for cash here. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So you kind of get an idea of what kind of buyer you're looking for, but you want to look at the seller's motivation too. I mean, if they're motivated, if they've got to move in 30 days for a job, or maybe they've already moved for a job and they don't want to deal with tenants, I've got one listed right now that the guy, he's just tired of dealing with tenants. He's tired of dealing with HOA. He's tired of dealing with, just every tenant. It seems like he's having to evict, he said. And, sometimes getting that price reduction, a lot of agents are scared to reduce the price. But if you've got 10 listings out there right now.
Right. So in reference to that, Jason, you mentioned, you got Mr. and Mrs. Seller over here that's living in fantasy world, and they're like, no, got to have 150, but they're missing a cabinet door and got some vinyl flooring and this, that, and the other versus the other homes in the marketplace that's priced properly. Take the listing anyway. Is that what you're saying? And circle back around and get real with them?
Well, I got a different mindset, I guess, right now on taking listings as far as them being a little overpriced. As long as it's within about 10% of where I think it needs to be in today's market, I am taking it. It may be even 15%. If it's a good area, man, and their house shows well, but it's, say, it's a $150,000 neighborhood and they want to list it for $165,000, I'll go ahead and take that listing today. And the reason why I think you should be taking, honestly, I think you should be taking just about every listing you can get, unless it's a difficult seller that you think you're going to constantly butt heads with, or it's just grossly overpriced, like 25, 30% overpriced. I think you should take every listing you can get right now. I think that, I follow the political stuff pretty heavily, and I think with some of the changes that Trump is proposing with Dodd-Frank and stuff like that, I think the banks are going to get a little more aggressive lending. And by aggressive, meaning that they're going to we're going to see lower credit requirements in the near future. And we're going to see with the confidence, if you look at some of the confidence polls that we've had in the last 30, 60 days, consumer confidence is going through the roof. So I think in the next 6 months, we're going to see a lot more pressure on inventory. So that house that's over, 10% overpriced today, in 60 to 90 days, it might not be. And here's the thing too. Here's the crazy thing. Okay, let's say that you go out here and you list a house that is it's a $150,000 neighborhood, and we list it for $165,000. In 60 days, we reduce the sale. The market's going to improve. We're heading into the spring and the summer, so your market's going to pick up. And inventory is going to go down a little bit just because of the cycle in the market, or at least it does in my market. Okay, so the market's going to go up a little bit, so we're going to see a little bump in prices here in the spring and summer. And then if I can get my seller down $5,000, I go from being 10% overpriced to being probably the market picking up 5%, me dropping my seller $5,000. Now I'm in a range I can sell.
That's a great point, Jason, because down in our marketplace, the median price range for a single family home, literally we're getting a 2% increase per month. So that $200,000 home is cost you're looking at a $4,000 price increase month to month.
That's amazing. So if you listed that house for say $225,000 today, all right, and over the next say 60 to 90 days, you reduce them. Just say $5,000, you're $219,000. Or you reduce them, $10,000. You're kind of aggressive with it. You reduce them $10,000. All of a sudden you're $215,000 and you're getting a 2% price increase a month. man, in 3 months, you're in a good range, man. The market's about two,
Yeah.
what, 208,000, 210,000, and you're at 215.
Sure. Yeah.
You're in a range you're going to offer probably. I mean,
you end up right in a sweet spot over time.
yeah, that's right. I mean, the market's going to catch up, and then you're going to beat up on price. And now I'm not saying to take a listing with intentions that, hey, I'm going to take this listing and then I'm going to beat you up on prices, until you try to beat your eyes out on the price here over the next 2 months. But lots of times, price reducing somebody is as easy as just asking them, hey Sam, we've had some showings on your house, and I know you guys are wanting to sell because you're moving for your job, or that you guys don't want to rent it. I know you guys are paying 2 mortgage payments. Look here, we're at 125 right now. I feel like we might need to adjust the price down to 219.9. What do you think about that? Or I like to dictate where I want to adjust it, but sometimes when you got those sellers that are kind of difficult with you, you go, hey Sam, this is Jason Morris. I want to call you, give you a little update on your listing here. I think we're not getting a whole lot of activity on it. I know you guys need to sell it, and I like to repeat back to them what their motivating factor was if they had one. I know you guys need to sell it because of blank. What do you think? I feel like we need to adjust the price some. What do you think? Would you guys like to adjust the price some? And then you just be quiet and let them answer. And
sure.
I mean, I price reduced these people, and and they had a fantastic house, but it was literally they actually have an amazing house in a really, really bad neighborhood, and I hope they never hear this call.
Well, one thing I do, Jason, one thing I do for my sellers that I represent, when they're truly living in fantasy land in terms of pricing, and I know that someone's going to take their listing. If I don't, I'll go ahead and take it. Kind of like what you said. But at the same token, when we're at the kitchen table and we're getting ready to sign contracts and get everything done, I make it very, very, very clear to these folks that, hey, listen, bear in mind, absolutely, you're in charge. You're setting the price. Here's my recommendation. But just please know that you're going to receive a phone call from me every Friday, based on the level of activity. And I'm going to remind you that we had this conversation, and we might have to talk about a pricing strategy. So I tell them that up front. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing about me. I don't follow up with people every week. But I'll talk about price just about every phone call I have with them sometimes, just depending on what the property is and what response we're getting.
Sure.
And I want to give them the best price possible. I'd like to get them the best price possible, but I want to, our job is really to get them a price that's acceptable to both them and the buyer. And a lot of agents forget that. You know what I mean? And you've worked with those agents before too. I'm sure you have. That you call them and you go, hey, I know your client's asking $100,000 for it. I got a buyer that's interested. And do you think they would accept 90? If you think they'll accept 90, we'll write it up. And you got the agent going, 100 is a good deal, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes it's the agent that wants 100, not the seller. Shit, the seller would drive to your house. He'd drive to your house. That's
a great point, Jason, because sometimes, I fight extremely, extremely hard for the equity, and I know you do too, of your prospective, client, your seller. And, sometimes we have to your point, fighting, for the equity of that seller, sometimes we have to be absolutely mindful and remind ourselves that it's an acceptable agreement between the buyer and seller, and we agents need to not get in the way of that. Sometimes they do.
Yeah. Well, like too, a lot of us as agents, a lot of agents don't quite understand. Okay, yeah, your client can And this is part of the negotiation here. Sometimes, you'll be $2,000 apart on a contract. You're $2,000 apart on this contract, but let's say on this offer, and let's say this offer don't work out, and your seller has to pay another mortgage payment or another 2 mortgage payments before they get an acceptable offer to make up that $2,000 difference. How much does that time cost them in mortgage payments, taxes, insurance, electric bills, and all the other upkeep?
And their quality of life in terms of making that move to that next chapter in their life, whatever that might be.
Of course. And us as agents, sometimes we forget, our job is to get an acceptable offer, but sometimes when you do get that offer, you got to, not only are you negotiating with the buyer's agent, the buyer, sometimes as the seller's agent, you got to turn around and start negotiating with your seller a little bit too.
Sure.
To make it work, because sometimes sellers don't think about that. They're stuck on, say, we got to put $150,000 in our pocket, and this is only going to put us $98,000 in our pocket. And you go, well, Mr. Seller, I understand you want to get $100,000, but your mortgage payment's $1,100 a month, and we got a month and a half worth of mortgage payments here, and you're going to be in the same place. And sometimes you got to turn around and explain and really break that down to your seller that, hey, if it takes us 2 more months to get an offer, then we're going to be in the same place here.
And, that's an excellent point. Absolutely.
But with price reduction, sometimes, man, what we need to do, and I see agents do this crazy randomness, they'll price a house, say, at $155,000, right?
Sure.
And it may be worth $155,000. That's the seller where they need to be. But if they would price it at $150,000, right, or if they could price reduce them that $5,000, the way that property is going to show up in searches is going to be completely different. So, like a buyer right now looking for a house $150,000 and less, so they're approved to $150,000. They're never going to see the one for $155,000. And if you look at a lot of these websites out here, a lot of them are doing searches in $50,000 increments. You're searching $100,000 or less, $150,000 or less, $200,000 or less, or $150 to $200. So sometimes you need to price reduce to that price point. So you can fall within those searching brackets that are on common websites like Zillow and Trulia. But
to that point, Jason, also, the other aspect of that, let's say, for example, if we're working with a seller that was on the market before, the agent, let's just say, lacked a little bit in the skill set. And, in terms of marketing that property to get that seller, the highest dollar in a shorter period of time, and they priced it at $155 in your example, and it really should be priced at $160, essentially, of course the property didn't sell, but had it sold, they would have given up, potential $5,000 in, a seller's net. Don't you agree?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, price and property. A lot of agents, expired listings. I mean, the price isn't the only reason they expire. A lot of us get hung up on, they're expiring because they're too much money. But I listed one. Not long ago that, the pictures the agent had in MLS were not pictures of the woman's condo.
Oh my goodness!
I had the woman on the phone. And I'm talking to her, and she's telling me how she's got new carpet, and she's got crown molding, and she's telling me about this beautiful condo she's got and all these renovations. And I'm looking at the pictures, and I'm seeing like green carpet, and I'm seeing flowery. All of a sudden, I say, "Well, so you took down the wallpaper?" And she goes, "Well, I never had wallpaper." I said, "Well, pictures on MLS are not the pictures of your condo." So you see a lot of honestly, it's gross negligence, but you see a lot of stupid stuff by other agents, The average agent doesn't have a lot of business sense, doesn't have a lot of marketing sense, and doesn't understand how the whole thing works. Now with price reduction, I want to tell you something else that's a win too, man. We talked about getting $5,000 price adjustments and reductions, but sometimes, man, you can't get $5,000, and you can't get them to reduce it $10,000, and it looks like it's priced about where it needs to be. Now, every MLS might work a little bit different, but I'm going to tell you how mine works, and I think a lot of them are very similar because we use a Paragon system, and it's on, it's a RETS feed, and I think a lot of them are very similar to this. Sometimes, man, you can do a $500 adjustment.
Sure.
And what happens when you do that $500 adjustment is it gets re-syndicated everywhere. You get everybody, all these agents that have all these fancy sites like Conversion and Commissions Inc. and Boomtown and all that stuff. They got all these people set up on these e-alerts, and a lot of people have them set up with their MLS and all that stuff too. So most of the buyers out there are set up on some sort of e-alert, and when you get that little price reduction, and I think there's a threshold minimum. I don't think you can do $100, or at least not here. But I think there's a price, a threshold minimum. But I know $500 works. If you can price reduce them $500, that house gets resent out on everything. So sometimes, you can, if you can't get the price reduction you need, but it's close, man, I'll settle for a $500 price reduction. Sometimes on some of these houses that have been on the market for a little while, I would actually almost rather do like a $2,500 price reduction and to do another $2,500 price reduction in 2 or 3 weeks rather than do $5,000 at one time. For some of these sellers that are real tight on their numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason, so, to that point, what I've done in the past, I don't know if you've ever done this, I'm sure you have, but when I've gotten those little small incremental price adjustments, but just because I want everything re-syndicated, I'll also go into that listing, for example, and I'll swap some photos around, create a new virtual tour, blah, blah, blah. So, when Mr. and Mrs. Buyer out there, that may not even be on a drip program, but they're on Zillow or Trulia or Realtor.com or whatever. Boom, they see a price adjustment, and they see a new photo.
Yep.
So it makes them stop twice to say, wow, this is a new property. It's like rebranding with the price reduction.
Yep, you got a new front picture that's from a little different angle. If you took it from the right last time, take it from the left. Yeah, I've done that before too, and I mean that's magical sometimes, especially for a listing that's been it's been sitting out there for a little while.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons too. I don't recommend agents to steal the last agent's pictures off MLS. I don't know if you guys have that in your market. But sometimes the agent the new agent will steal the exact pictures, and the lister over the phone, they steal the exact pictures the agent had. You're not supposed to do it, but it's up to us to police ourselves.
To that point, I mean, I had a listing, a condo that we sold down in Boca, a great community. The highest price sold in the last 6 months. This one agent, in my office here at Remax had a previous listing that he sold in there. He had this awesome aerial photo, looking down towards a clubhouse, and boy, I was really tempted to snag that photo, but I knew I was going to get in trouble. I wouldn't do that anyway, so I reached out to him, and he was like, absolutely, Sam, good luck with that. Here, you absolutely use that photo. And I took that photo, added it to, the virtual tour. And, so those are the things you have to do. I mean, in most cases, we agents are absolutely wanting to help one another succeed and, help their clients move on. And, that's the big picture stuff. That's what we should be doing.
Well, like lots of like single family condo buildings, it's hard to get a different shot. You know what I mean? Especially those high rise buildings. There's only so many angles you can take a picture of that thing from. But like single family homes, I'll see agents, they'll steal the outside picture of the single family home that expired. And for the general public that's searching on like Zillow, Trulia, and all these random websites, that house gets relisted at the same price it was at with the exact same pictures. They think, well, damn, I don't need to look at that. That's the same house. I already seen this one next, you know. Where if they would have just went out there and spent, you know, done a drive-by, got out of their car, you know, and took one extra picture of the outside of the house, maybe from the left or showing the garage a little better or whatever it is, it would have looked like it would actually look like a brand new listing instead of just a listing that had been renewed.
Yeah, rebranding, absolutely.
Yes, sir. I think that's crazy. But yeah, man, I tell you, like, a lot of agents don't quite understand. You know, they got 5 listings, they got 10 listings out there. They're not getting shown, and they're going, you know, they're struggling to get another, you know, add a couple of listings to their inventory. You know, sometimes, man, just they need to take a look back at what they've already gotten. And I'm guilty of doing this myself. I'm guilty of, you know, forgetting about a listing and letting it get a little stale. But if they just go back through their listing inventory, you know, make a couple of price reduction calls, you know, get some prices reduced, even if it's $500, even if it's $1,000, that thing gets re-syndicated, man. That's another contract you got.
Absolutely.
On a listing that's probably going to expire. I mean, I just had one. I'll tell you this. I just had one expire, and I kept looking at the thing. I got a ton of showings when it went on the market. I felt like it was priced right, and I am guilty of this myself. I should have called the person and price reduced them. Actually, I probably should have price reduced them a couple of times. To tell you the truth, and we just sold their house, and I'd have put another $5,000 or $6,000 in my pocket. But instead, I didn't price reduce them, and it's my fault. I didn't price reduce them, and more than likely, the next agent, they didn't want to relist or extend their listing agreement with me, and the next agent will probably list that house at a cheaper price than me, and they will sell that house. And they won't list it much. They could probably drop the price like $5,000 and sell it. You know.
Yeah, I had one like that recently, Jason, where it was an expired listing, and you know, this lady called me based on my Zillow reviews, you know, from client feedback on my services, and just called me out of the blue from Zillow and said, hey, you know, we came off the market, and you know, we saw what people had to say about you, blah blah blah. You know, can you come on out and take the listing? And a beautiful home, did a beautiful walkthrough video, professional, you know, HD photos, blah, blah, blah. Same thing though, you know, trying to get her, you know, to sell her the most money in the shortest period of time. We just, we let it go for a little while, and it was on the market for about 3 months. I was starting to get real concerned, that it was going to be another expired listing. So, you know, fortunately, actually, you know, when that storm came through, here's what happened. Just a little story. So when that storm came through, that affected you folks up in South Carolina.
Matthew.
Which one was that? What storm was that?
That was Matthew. That was back in October.
Yeah, Matthew. So this is an older lady living in a very nice gated community, single family homes. And she had no family. Her son and some other family members lived over on the West Coast in Tampa. So I'm running around looking after my investment properties, trying to get them all boarded up and secured for the storm. And, you know, it just caught me. I just said, let me call, you know, this nice lady, check in with her, see how she's doing. And when I called her, she goes, Sam, I'm so glad you called, blah, blah, blah. She goes, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I'm like, well, I was just calling to see if you had your shutters up, blah, blah, blah. She goes, I don't know. Nobody's here to help me. So I put the call out to a couple of, handymen that I work with in the area, and basically sent her over a couple of people to get her shutters put up like within 2 hours. But, you know, in terms of, so back to the story as far as getting her property sold. When I did that, and it seemed like our relationship changed, there was no resistance when it came to price reductions. There was no so we ended up selling after it was all said and done. But that was a real relationship that was just developed in that one little moment.
Yes, sir. You know, it's interesting. Like you talk about that. I mean, I believe that the thing that's I can't remember what they call the scale, but it was a trust fact. It's trust factor surveys, and we were as realtors, we were pretty low on the scale, man. I mean, we were down there near lawyers and criminals, you know, and I think that's what a lot of agents don't quite understand is they go out, they try to be real flashy, they try to be real salesman-y and stuff, and they come across lots of times as being just slimy, you know what I mean? And and a lot of the times we forget that a lot of the relationship is we're building trust. We want them to trust us and to believe that me and you are the best person, which I believe myself that I'm the best person to list your house if it's in Georgetown County in South Carolina.
Sure.
But a lot of it's trust factor, and when you do something like that for a client, man, that's enormous. And I tell you,
our relationship completely changed, and we definitely had a good relationship prior to that. But I know after that, and it was merely just out of out of concern, and I truly wanted to, was checking to see if she was okay and what she needed. I mean, I went out on Facebook and posted, hey, I've got a few hours, who need help, that sort of thing, and she was one of those persons, on my list to call. So that's really what it was.
Yeah, the whole process, we forget sometimes as agents, the whole process, listing process, sales process, your conversations, you have to make sure that, you always have to keep in mind that we're just building trust. And what you just said, just saying, hey, I was wanting to know if you get any help with hurricane shutters. I got a handyman that can help you, Man, that's enormous help for people sometimes. And just offering that little bit of advice. I always tell other agents that that's the one thing about me. At these listing appointments, nobody can ever say, Jason lied to me. I'm so damn brutally honest, at these appointments. If they've got a dog that is going to the bathroom all in the floor, I'll be straight up with them. Hey, look, you got to clean up this dog shit. This is going to be a problem. If you're going in there on day one, hey, this is how it is, man. If you're going in there on day one to list their house, most of the time they've got ready for you to be there. Whatever condition their house is in, they found it acceptable for somebody they don't know to come in their house. Okay, so they're going to find it acceptable for a buyer to come in their house that day, same condition, So, I'll tell you, I got guys working in my house today. I don't want you to come to my house today. You know what I mean? You're going to have to give us a few days to get – we're getting some tile put down and stuff. You're going to have to give us a few days to get this shit cleaned up. But if your seller is allowing people to come in there, their house is a mess, their house is gross, you leave feeling like you need to take a shower, that's how their house is going to be when they have a buyer to come. And
and to that point, I mean, the old adage, right, Jason? One thing I'd say is, when we market your property to the world, we're not marketing your home. We're marketing a house. And
right.
Buyers don't want to see how you live. They want to see, it's a house, not a home. So
which here. I'll tell you, I don't press people much I don't really press people on taking down family pictures and stuff like that. I try to get the family pictures and the pictures on MLS, but I mean, here it's not a big deal to see, I'm in the Bible Belt. I don't know if Fort Lauderdale's like this, but it's not uncommon to see pictures of Jesus, crucifix on the wall, things like that. I went to a guy's house a while back and he literally had a Jesus wall. I mean, it was, it was like he must have had 25 pictures, and it was a little odd. We just didn't take a picture of that wall. You know what I mean? And
sure,
it was a little overboard, but it's just whatever you see their house in the first appointment, that's how it's going to be. And you need to keep that in mind as you're going through the listing process. If their house smelled like dog pee when you went, and you've had 10 buyers through it and you can't figure out why you're not getting a contract, it's probably because their house still smells like dog pee, you know?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's a conversation that you have to have with them when it comes to feedback, you know, on those weekly calls or whatnot. Hey, listen, here's what the feedback is from the marketplace.
And those are great. You know, it sucks to have those conversations. I don't like to have negative conversations with anybody, but those conversations when you're having them, like I got a house right now listed. There's some floor problems. There's some floor problems in it, and it's going to cost probably about. I've already had it priced by somebody. And it's going to cost about $1,500 to correct. Okay. It's not a big issue, but it's an issue that's noticeable. And
sure.
So my conversation with my seller was, hey, Mr. Seller, look, you know, we got this floor problem, and everybody, you know, I know your house is priced right. I know it ain't going to cost a whole lot to fix it, but everybody's having a problem with this floor problem. This is the problem with selling your house. If we didn't have this, it wouldn't be any problem. Now, he doesn't have the money to fix it. And he's been straight up with me about, I don't have the money to fix it. And I told him, I said, hey, well, I feel like what we need to do is do a price reduction to compensate for this floor issue. And you can do that with any negative feedback you got. You know, if you're having if it's a paint issue, if it's a flooring issue, if it's a smell issue, whatever it is, you just call them and say, hey, Sam, you know, we're having this, you know, our feedback, we've had 2 people to say, you know, that you know, you let your 3-year-old paint your house, man. And that's the negative feedback. I feel like we need to either offer a credit or do a price reduction for it. What would you prefer to do? And then just let them tell you, you know. And a lot of times, hey, sellers, the general public's more educated about real estate now than they have ever been. You know what I mean? They've got more tools in some cases than a lot of realtors have. You know, they're actually using more tools than a lot of realtors are using. I mean, it's unbelievable. Sellers typically know what their house is worth, and they typically have an idea if it's overpriced, and use that negative feedback to negotiate price with them and a price reduction with them. And I can do it. But man, well, I think we're pushing about 45 minutes now. You know, let's wrap it up.
Oh wow!
But
sure. Well,
but man,
you know that was a great little circle back to overcoming condition of a property via price adjustment.
Yeah, price reductions will make you money. But Sam, you know, so you're down in Broward County in Florida. I know there's a lot of people that have clients and those stuff. How can people get in touch with you if they want to refer you a client or refer you some business down there?
Sure, absolutely, Jason. I appreciate the opportunity. You know, my phone number, call me directly, 561-346-8555, or find me on Facebook, and even my website, househuntflorida.com.
Cool, man. Hey, well, I really appreciate it. And give me just a second. I'll stop the recording.